Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of AMAM, which is Ask Me Anything Mondays. So today's episode 26. We are in this sessions, we answer your questions from the Vedic literature as presented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Kṛṣṇa Consciousness, also known as the Hare Krishna movement, and we represent that movement here in ISKM, in International Sri Krishna Mandir. Now, we'll say our Mangalacharan prayers and invoke the blessings of Śrīla Prabhupāda and the entire parampara, so that we can do this service for the benefit of all, for their pleasure and for the benefit of everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vāsudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Viṣṇu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to episode 26 of Ask Me Anything Mondays, AM. Actually today's session will be to answer the questions that were asked in the previous session, which was last Monday. So these sessions were actually supposed to have once in 2 weeks, but because there were so many questions unanswered in the previous session, so I have taken up, instead of Vaishnava songs, which is supposed to be today, so every alternate Monday the program is AMAM one Monday, the next Monday would be Vaishnava songs, studying Vaishnava song. So we'll take up one song of an Acharya and then we will sing it and then we will explain it. So that has been the format, but since last week we had so many questions that were unanswered, so in today's episode we will attempt to address those questions, and we are not taking any new questions actually, but you all have asked so many questions. That is optional to me. I have to finish the previous AMAM's questions, and actually my plan was to only do that, right? Just to set some expectations. So from the last AMAM, I hope some of you who have been there in the last session, I have ended that session saying that I will have another one, but I said it will be on Wednesday. But because on Wednesdays we have this Bhagavad-Gita classes, so I don't want to break that momentum, because if people want to look for Bhagavad-Gita classes on Wednesday, then they'll be a bit disoriented. So I stuck to the Bhagavad-Gita class and decided to do this on Monday. Alright, so let's go to the question that we had last week. So Satyam Chaudhary is asking, Prabhu, some people argue that Vedas came into written form about 5,000 years ago. But what is the guarantee that today also they are unchanged? How to answer this, Prabhu? So this is where the parampara system comes. So Shastra, we may not have faith, you see, but when the Acharya accepts that Shastra and he is coming from bona fide disciplic succession, that's how we actually get faith in the Shastra. So like that we can always ask, how do we know who is our father? If our mother says, but what is the guarantee that the mother did not change her, what is the guarantee that the mother is not distorting the facts? Like, if this is the father, but she is saying that this is the father. Well, if she says that is unfortunate. But how do we know that the Shastras are unchanged? Well, you can see the Bhagavad-Gita, for example. It's the same verses everybody is commenting on, but different people have different commentary, bhashya. So, but the words are same. So, but I have seen some of the Bhagavatam verses. Sometimes there is versions of what is a good example? Like, it can be, in some versions it is written like this, in some versions like that, but ultimately the meaning is the same. There is no contradiction. So, but for the most part, it has not been changed. There is one Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's writing an article in which he said, like Kurma Puran has this so many verses, for example, but only this many are known. So some of the verses may have been lost. So I have read something like that, to that effect, by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But to change it, that I have not read. So we take it, evam parampara praptam emam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. This is coming from a bona fide disciplic succession, and if somebody is changing, then such a person is unfortunate who receives such changed instructions. And honestly, the words of the Bhagavad Gita have been remaining the same, but the explanation is changing. So that is again a huge change. So that's not Bhagavad Gita anymore if we change the explanation and write some of our own commentary. So that is actually the change. So unchanged, if we want to receive, then we have to receive from parampara. That is the reason why parampara system is put in place. Gotra dharma. Actually, I'll show you one verse. It's a very interesting verse. You see, in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, 90th chapter, verse 47. Tirtham chakre nriponam yadajani yadushu svasarit padashaucham vidvit snigdha svarupam yayurajita parashriryadarthenya yatna yannama mangalagnam shrutamata gaditam yatkruto gotra dharma Kṛṣṇasya itanna chitram kshitibharaharanam kalachakrayudhasya yatkruto gotra dharma. Now, what is gotra dharma? By whom gotra, among the lines of descent of various sages. So, this is gotra dharma. So, what is the meaning? Okay, this is actually a summary of Krishna's glories. 5 things are mentioned, but we are just going to concentrate on this now. He alone has set forth the principles of various disciplic successions of sages. So all this gotra dharma, gotra, we know, in India, what is your gotra, they will ask in some temples. So gotra is this lines of descent, but it has become now a seminal descent. But here it is mentioned, of course this is not Prabhupada's translation personally, but if you see, this can be corroborated in the Bhagavatam itself, where Vāsudeva has divided the study of the Vedas and handed down the knowledge to his disciples, and they in turn gave it to their disciples. So all the time it was the passing down of knowledge, not of this father and son. no, Bharadwaja Gotra or Achyuta Gotra. Achyuta Gotra is ours, or the Kashyapa Gotra. So in this way there are so many Gotras. People are now taking it as just seminal descent. Seminal means by semen, just by family, dynastic descent. That was never the case. So that has now become even the Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma has now become based on seminal lineage. That is Asura Varnashram. Asura Varnashram is by seminal. Daiva Varnashram, which is the real Varnashram, is by Gunakarma Vibhavasha. So same thing even for Gotra. Gotra is not by seminal descent. This is a wrong conception in entire India. So, like for example, Surya Vamsha, there is the family lineage, dynasty. But then again, the if you see in the 4th chapter, first verse, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavana hamavyayam vivasvan mana vepraha manurikshvakave bravit. Now, Vivasvan was the disciple of Kṛṣṇa, sun god. And Vivasvan spoke it to his son, Manu. And Manu, which is Vaivasvata Manu. And this Vaivasvata Manu spoke to his son, Ikshvaku. Now this is definitely father, son to son. But it's not because they were sons, but because Proktavan, Praha, Abravit. What are these words? Okay, Proktavan, instructed, Praha, told, Abravit, said. So this is the line of actual descent, the knowledge, not the seminal lineage. So Gotra also, it is disciplic succession. It was rightfully translated as disciplic succession of the great sages, Gotra Dharma. Now, why am I telling this? Because the question is about, are the Vedas intact? So, this is where the connection comes. So, Gotra, now, if you go back to the purport of that verse, you see, 5th, Lord Kṛṣṇa solidly reinstated Dharma, the bull of religion. Dharma is represented by the bull. I don't know if you remember, there is this conversation in the first canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam where Dharma, the bull, speaks to earth in the form of a cow. The earth, the personality of earth, she took for the form of a cow, and this bull was questioning the cow, why are you so unhappy, why are there tears in your eyes? So, Dharma, the bull of religion, on his 4 legs of compassion, austerity, cleanliness and truth. Satyam, Shaucham, Daya, Satyam. Sorry. Kshama. 117.24. Let's go there. 117.24. Tapah Shaucham, Daya, Satyam. Iti pādaha krite kritaha. Adharmam shayis trayo bhagna smaya sangamadaistava. So this 4 legs of religion of the bull is tapah, shaucham, daya, satyam. So tapah means austerity, shaucham means cleanliness, daya means mercy and or compassion, and satyam means truthfulness. So these are the 4 principles or 4 pillars of religion. That's not religion yet, because the 4 legs of the bull are not the bull. They are the 4 legs of the bull. The real bull is, the entire person of the bull. So this is the foundation on which religion stands. Like religion, these are the basics, like the entrance into religion. Okay? Now, Gotra, protector of the earth. This is so important. So Tra, just like mantra. Man means the mind. Tra means to protect or to deliver or to liberate the mind from the entrapment of Maya. So that is protection. So mantra means the sound vibration which helps us control the mind or protect the mind from degradation and keep it in meditation on Kṛṣṇa. That is a mantra. Now it is loosely used nowadays. So Tra stands for Trayate. Putra means Punnama Narakad Trayate iti Putra. Trayate Yasmad iti Putra. So Punnamnad Naraka. Punnamno Narakad. So there's a Naraka named Pun. So a person who delivers his father from, from the going to hell, he is called Putra. And then there is this Kshatriya, Kshat and Tra, Trayate. Kshat means to hurt, and Trayate means to save or to protect. So Kshatriya, he hurts the enemy in order to protect his kinsmen or his subjects. Sorry, not kinsmen, his subjects, and he will protect them from being hurt. And hurt means not just physical hurt; it can be mental hurt, it can be spiritual hurt. So by establishing the varnashram system, he will take care of the public, so that spiritually they are not hurt. There is no himsa to them. Everybody is given a chance to advance in God consciousness. So in this way, tra means to protect. So gotra means to protect the cows. And cows is one thing, and go. The earth also took the form of a cow and went to Brahma to complain about her problem. That is stated in the 10th canto, also in the 1st canto. So, of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So, gotra means to protect the earth. So, earth, you see here, Lord Kṛṣṇa solidly reinstated dharma, the bull of religion, on his 4 legs of compassion, austerity, cleanliness and truth. Thus, dharma could once again become gotra, the protector of the earth. Dharma is the protector of the earth. Just like a husband is the protector of the wife, the bull is the protector of the cow, the dharma is the protector of the earth. So, Kshiti Bhara Haranam Kala Chakrayudhasya, Kṛṣṇa, Kshiti Bhara Haranam, Bhara, the weight. See, a weight, earth is so tolerant, she can bear weight of great mountains, right? But she says, this is the one. What is that? No. 8.24. 8.24. 8.20.4 Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. न ह्यसत्यात् परो धर्म इति होवाच भूरियं सर्वं सोढुमलं मन्ये ऋते लीकपरं नरम्. There is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. So a liar is a person who denies God, first of all. A person who denies God is firstly a liar. Whatever else he may do, he is lying. He is a thief. He is stealing everything from God and not giving any credit. So these kind of people are become Kshiti Bhara. Kshiti means the earth. Bhara means the weight, unnecessary burden. Unnecessary burden. So these kind of rulers of the earth, they become unnecessary burden on the earth. And because of such burden was becoming intolerable, the Mother Earth went to Brahma to request protection. And Brahma went to the ocean of milk, and that's how Kṛṣṇa decided to come. Kṛṣṇa took his advent. This is actually explained in the... Let's go to that verse. See, Bhumirdriptanirpavyaja Daityanikashatayutaihi Akranta Bhuribharena Brahmanam Sharanam Yayao. Once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Gaur bhutva shrumukhi khinna krandanti karunam vibhoh upasthitantike tasmai vyasanam samavochata. Mother Earth assumed the form of a cow. Very much distressed, with tears in her eyes, she appeared before Lord Brahma and told him about her misfortune. So you see, so this is the evidence that she took the form of a cow. So this Gotra Dharma is to protect the earth. So this systems of religion, religious system, through the parampara system, is established. And that's how we know what is correct and what is wrong. And therefore it is said in the Mahabharata, CC Madhya 17:186. So I was actually quite astonished to know this meaning of the word Gotra. Not very long ago actually. Tarko pratishtha shrutayo vibhinna nasa vrishiryasya matam na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatah sapantha. Dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. So, by taking their different philosophers' words, we cannot know the real truth of religious principles. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. So, even if the Vedas are completely intact, no change, and actually there are no change, we still can't access them. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. Now, the Vedas are unchanged, but even if they are unchanged, we cannot know their real meaning without parampara. And that parampara, that gotra, to protect the earth, this disciplic succession is established, yat krito gotra dharma, so that the real religious principles will be protected and people will be protected with those real religious principles. So we have to approach the bona fide spiritual master and he will reveal to us the real meaning of the Shastra. And then we will understand what is even Shastra, let alone trying to find out what is bona fide, whether it's changed or not. So there is no difference between the words of Kṛṣṇa and the words of a pure devotee, and they are all perfect words. So the Vedas have been handed down, but the meaning we can only understand through parampara. So parampara is disciplic succession is where we have to lay the focus on. See, because in that summary of Krishna's pastimes, the 1090:48 is a summary of his pastimes. 1090:47 is a summary of his glories. Now, glory, one of the most glorious things that he has done in this whole Kṛṣṇa Leela is the Bhagavad-Gita. And in the entire Mahabharata, that is the most crucial part. Everything else was created to eventually bring the people to that. Now, even that is not mentioned in the summary of the glories. But Gotra Dharma is mentioned. That means it also automatically includes the knowledge that he has spoken to Arjuna, and that will be continued. So that is the Gotra Dharma. So that's why ours is Achyuta Gotra, because we are coming in the Achyuta Parampara, the Krishna's Parampara. Or of course, we are Madhvacharya. That's why we call ourselves Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, like that. So that is our lineage, our Gotra actually. We are from Madhvacharya. But these Gotras, they calculate from the great sages of the higher planetary systems, like Brihaspati, Bharadwaja, or Kashyapa, in this way. So many sages. But these are also sages. Prabhupada is a sage. He is not a sage. So we have to take from them the proper understanding of the Vedas, and that's how it is kept intact. He said, "Yogo nashtah parantapa." Yogo nashtah. Now what is that? Evam parampara praptam, emam rajarsho viduhu. Evam parampara praptam. This has to be received from parampara. That is the way. That is the Gotra Dharma. And evam parampara praptam, emam rajarsho viduhu. Sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. Sa evayam mayatedya yogah proktah puratanah. So to revive the Sampradaya or Gotra Dharma, he has spoken. So Gotra and Sampradaya, Parampara, all this is based on Viduhu, the knowledge and the passing down of knowledge, not on the basis of seminal descent, just by dynasty, family. Never. Not the Varnashram Dharma, not even the disciplic succession, not even the Parampara. Nothing is by seminal descent. This is all Asuric, demonic Gotra, demonic Varnashram. This is spoken by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I am not just making it up. I think it's 3-6, right? 3-6 purport, yes. The acharyas who advocate the Daiva Varnashram, the social order of Chaturvarnyam mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita, which is according to Guna Karma Vibhagasha, according to their qualities, 1842, 43, 44, the qualities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are mentioned. So according to the qualities, if human society is divided, that is Daiva Varnashram, mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita. Do not accept, so the acharyas who advocate the Daiva Varnashram, which is the proper Varnashram, do not accept the proposition of Asura Varnashram, which maintains that the social order of Varna is indicated by birth. Similarly, Gotra also by birth is condemned. It has to be accepted on this Guna Karma. What is the Guna of the Acharyas in the descent? What if he is a rascal, just father of somebody, but he is a rascal himself, or the son of somebody and he is a rascal? Then that doesn't count. Okay? So, I would like to end it there, and let's go to the next question. I hope you understood that. Hope that is clear. Next question, Himanshu. Okay. Himanshu is asking, Prabhu, if no questions coming to our mind regarding the topic we read in Śrīla Prabhupāda's books, what does this indicate? Does this indicate we are not taking interest in reading? Not necessarily. You won't always have questions. Sometimes you will have questions. Don't read to just get questions. Read to understand. If something is missing, then that question will be there, and then you can try to find out or ask somebody or something like that. Otherwise, it's not that you must get questions. Otherwise, oh, that means Prabhupada's books are incomplete. So we need somebody else to explain them. Not like that. Yeah? It is only when we have not sufficiently read Prabhupada's books and maybe some things are not clear, and then devotees can clarify them from the statements of our Shastra and Prabhupada and like that. So that is the whole purpose of this AMAM sessions. Alright. Next. Okay, you know what? Edit. One second. It's just a bit of okay. Okay, 7, 10, 11. Tathapi manmantaram etadatra daityeshvaranam anubhungshva bhogan. How many Mahayugas were passed out of 71 when Narasimhadev said this to Prahlad? To have an idea of how many Mahayugas Prahlad Maharaj ruled these Daityas. I do not know what it is about. 7, 10, 11. My dear Prahlad, a devotee like you never desires any kind of material opulences either in this life or the next. Nonetheless, I order you to enjoy the opulences of demons in this material world, acting as their king until the end of the duration of time occupied by Manu. I do not know, but what I understand is Bali Maharaj is still there in the Sutala planet, and he will in the next Manvantara become Indra, is what I understand. There is a verse like that, right? So in the 8th Manvantara, the greatly powerful personality of Godhead Sarvabhauma will take his birth. His father will be Devaguhya. You see how much perfect this Bhagavatam is. His father's name is and his mother will be Saraswati. He will take the kingdom away from Purandar, Lord Indra, and give it to Bali Maharaj. Wow. Ashwathama becomes one of the 7 sages. Rishishringa also, Parshuram, Deeptiman, Kripacharya also, and Vyasadeva also becomes the 7 sages. For the present, they are all residing in their respective ashramas. In the 8th Manvantara, he will take the kingdom away from Purandara, Indra, and give it to Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj will become the master of them. So he will become Indra. So that means at this point, Bali Maharaj is still there. I mean, this Manvantara hasn't passed. So it must be in the 7th Manvantara, this 7th Manu, in this day of Brahma. So somewhere in one of the cycles of the 4 yugas in this 7th Manu. So after this, it looks like Prahlad Maharaj, because Bali Maharaj is just grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So that's why. So it's not much of a difference between them, the age difference. So they must be both of the same Manvantara. So it must be this Vaivasvata Manvantara looks like. Then the next one. So until the end of this one. So I do not know how many, when exactly, which of the cycles he came. So until this end he will stay. Looks like. In the planet of the Daityas or wherever he is, this Prahlad Maharaj. That's why we have that the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, no? In the 5th canto from the Jambudvipa, which part? Which Varsha? 5:18:8. What is this? Harivarsha. Sukadeva Goswami continue, my dear King, Lord Narasimhadeva resides in the tract of land known as Harivarsha. How Prahlad Maharaj caused the Lord to assume the form of Narasimhadeva. Prahlad Maharaj, the topmost devotee of the Lord, is a reservoir of all good qualities and of great personalities. His character and activities have delivered all the fallen members of his demoniac family. Lord Narasimhadeva is very dear to this exalted personality. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj, along with his servants and all the denizens of Harivarsha, worships Lord Narasimhadeva by chanting the following verse. So, this is a very powerful verse. So, he is in the Harivarsha and is ruling there apparently until the end of this Manu. That's what I understand. Alright, so next, Shashank. What should be our response and understanding towards conquering ideology of Islamic on strength of sword, like what's going on in India, recently attack on ISKCON temple in Bangladesh and so on? See, we have to just preach our Kṛṣṇa consciousness we should not be too much distracted by many things that are happening. Yeah, of course, what they have done is wrong. In Bangladesh, I have seen that he has killed one devotee. That is absolute rubbish. So, he's certainly a demon. He's nowhere any man of God who did that. So, in the name of religion, whoever does that, you are saying on the strength of sword. Now, we are a Brahmanical society. We are not, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also incarnated in a time when there were Muslims, and we can see how he dealt with them. Okay? So, although they were doing that, like they whipped Haridas Thakur, but the retaliation was not in the same way. There was a non-cooperation movement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it was a non-violent movement, but at the same time, Kṛṣṇa is there, and our thing is only Sankirtan. Our weapon is Sankirtan. So, we will just spread our thing. And eventually, Kṛṣṇa will make all the arrangements. Kṣitibhara haranam kala chakrayudhasya. By the progress of time, all this Kṣitibhara haranam will happen. Unwanted people in the world will be destroyed by God's arrangement, by Kṛṣṇa's arrangement. So, we don't have to personally take up the sword in Kali Yuga. That's not the thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us. Even when he almost broke his own promise, Nityananda Prabhu forbade him. So that's not, and anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can do it with his chakra, what we can do. So we cannot do anyway. And we are not like Hanuman also, can burn the whole Lanka or something like that. So, ours is, and we don't have any, power or something like that to do that. If in the case when the devotees, they become so much greater in number, and if the head of the state is a devotee, and then it can be more strictly applied. This proper conduct, proper punishment for this nonsense behavior. So, but our thing, we are not anywhere close anyway, and our main in Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's way of doing it is this Harinam Sankirtan and preaching of the philosophy. So that's how we defeat this kind of nonsense. And of course, there is some need of violence if it is right in front of you. There is need of violence. Violence is not to be shunned. We are not cowards, and if it has to be met with the sword, we will. So, but we have some faith in the government that is there. If they can handle it well, then fine. So that we don't have to take up such measures. But if the government is weak, and if there is something, then if there is need be, then we have to take up the sword. Then no point. No point just being a sitting duck in the front of them. No need. So to defend ourselves, yes, we have to. If it is needed, if the country's system is not up to the mark, or even if it is, and if it is an emergency, one has to. So that is one of the scriptural principles as well. So otherwise, we, on a general principle, we refrain from any confrontation with these people. We will just preach our philosophy. If they accept it, well and good for them. If they don't, let them be what they are. And if they want to encroach upon our thing, then we have to retaliate. Yes. Either legally, or if it requires, then by sword. In fact, at one point Prabhupada said, even missiles can be used in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. I don't know when the time will come when missiles have to be used in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, but we will not refrain, because countries defend themselves. Sometimes defense is required, right? How can one have peace? Only with strength. One cannot be weak and be peaceful, because he will always be under the attack. So one has to be strong. So that applies to at all levels. Even personally, we have to be spiritually strong. Then only we can be at peace. If we are weak, we cannot be at peace. And similarly, for a country, spiritually and materially, it has to be strong. That's why the king's duty is to spiritually and materially protect the citizens. And therefore, for that reason, he has to have an army. Not to simply conquer over others, no. It has to be strong so that it will be a deterrent for other people to even try something. Like Parikshit Maharaj, when that black man, he was killing the cow, immediately Parikshit took out the sword. He met it with the sword. That is Kshatriya principle. So, we can't shy away from that if it is required. And especially if the ruler is a Krishna conscious person, there is no question of compromise. So, but otherwise, we hope that the state will take care of these kinds of at least physical abuse. And ideological abuse, that has to be met with proper arguments. So, that's how we would look at this situation. Right? And this is not limited to Islamic oppression or something like that. Any oppression. Anybody. It's aggressor. Atatayinam means there are 6 kinds of aggressors, you see. We don't want to be the aggressor. We don't want to be the aggressor at all, at any time. That's the first thing. But if there are aggressors, atatayinaha means aggressors, then according to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. A poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. So, then there is no sin. So, in self-defense, even in law, at least something, the law is right at least, that in self-defense, if you happen to kill someone, it is not punished. But it has to be strictly on self-defense. I can't just make it up. They will investigate that. So, if in the matter of self-defense the person dies, the attacker, then there is no sentence for this person. So, that is true actually on Vedic level, at Vedic law, Manu Samhita. Right? And this applies to anyone. So, Vrinda Gupta Mataji is asking, can you please explain these words, Jivan Muktaha, Nitya Siddha, Sadhana Siddha? So, first, Sadhana Siddha, Siddha means perfection. So, the perfection of life is to become a pure devotee of Kṛṣṇa. So, to become a pure devotee of Kṛṣṇa, or pure devotees of Kṛṣṇa, become pure devotees in either of these 3 ways. Either they are Nitya Siddha, they are always pure, they never fell down under material contamination, material influence. So they are Nitya Siddha, they always reside in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, and they sometimes descend in this world to assist the Lord in his pastimes. Apart from that, there is Sadhana Siddha, those who have become pure devotees after following the sadhana given by the spiritual master, and becoming perfect in that, and then becoming pure devotees. So these persons, originally we all are from Vaikuntha, so we have been pure ones, and then misuse of independence caused the person to fall down into this material world and be in sense gratification for how many ever lifetimes, and then he makes it back under the guidance of a guru, back to the pure devotional state. So by sadhana, by following the rules and regulations, he has attained the siddha, the perfection of being a pure devotee. The kripa siddha is he who became perfect by the special grace of the Lord, special grace of the devotee of the Lord. So without following any rules and regulations almost. So that is kripa siddha. So these 3 versions are there. 3 ways of becoming siddha, or 3 types of siddhas who have 3 paths. One is automatically siddha, nitya siddha, one is sadhana siddha, one is kripa siddha. Okay, that is siddha. So ultimately, when they become Siddha, it doesn't matter which one was they were, whether Nitya or Sadhana or Kripa. Once they're Siddha, they're Siddha. They're counted among Nitya Siddhas. There is a song by Narottam Das Thakur, Gaurangera Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Korimane. All the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are Nitya Siddhas. It is mentioned there. But then there is Srivas Thakur, who is incarnation of Narad Muni, who we know that he was in a previous life, he was a maid servant son, and previous to that he was a Gandharva. So that is not Nitya Siddha. Yes, but once he has become Siddha, he is counted among Nitya Siddhas. Because there is no difference between Sadhana or Nitya. So in that way. It is just to mention that how one can achieve that perfection. Just to create the distinction in that. Like for example, I may take up the citizenship of Singapore, or I may be born here. But once I am either whichever way, naturalized or born, once I am a Singaporean, I am counted among the Singaporeans. So, like that. So I can be a naturalized citizen, or I can be a citizen by birth, which means that I have always been a Singaporean, at least in this birth. So either way, or by another way is there. So even the way how you become a Singaporean, at least in this country, and many countries also they have this program. So you have to work here and get acquainted with this country for quite some time, and have a decent income, and have some assets or family or something like that. Then you'll have a good chance to become a Singaporean. But there's another kind of investment citizenship or PR, where just because of your money, you dump your money and invest some money here and then park your money in this country, and then you can have your citizenship. That's another way. At least you can get a permanent residency. So many countries also have this thing. So that is like, Kripa Siddha kind of, not exactly, but something like that. You don't have to go through the whole tapasya of, many years of trying and then only getting it. So, but once, in whichever way they have become a citizen, once they are citizen, they are counted among the Singapore citizens. So similarly, Nitya Siddha, Sadhana Siddha, Kripa Siddha doesn't matter. Once they are Siddha, that's it. Alright, so one more question you asked there, right? Jivan Mukta. Okay, so Jivan Mukta. 1 second. Where was that just now? No, that's not. 1 second. Oh, here it is. Okay. Sorry. So Jivan Mukta is what you asked, right? So Jivan Mukta means while he is in his material body, he is still liberated. And the example is given of that of the coconut and the coconut shell and the flesh inside. So when the coconut becomes dry, inside you can shake, and then inside you can hear the sound, where the shell is disconnected from the flesh of the coconut is disconnected from the shell, because otherwise the flesh is actually connected or stuck to the shell, right, the inside of the shell. But after some time it gets disconnected. So although it is inside the shell, it is not connected with the shell. So when one's juice or attraction for this material world is completely gone and becomes dry, then he is detached from his body. Although he is inside the body, the soul, but he is not attached to the body. Just like the flesh is not attached to the inside of the shell. So this example is given. This is Jivan Mukta. And there are some symptoms of a Jivan Mukta soul given by Veera Raghava Acharya, who is an Acharya in the Shri Sampradaya. And this is in the purport of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 5.4.5. Okay. Hmm. This is the Vedic way of life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home back to Godhead. The words Tan Mahimanam Avapa are significant in this regard. Srila Sridhar Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we will become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukti. Srila Veeraraghava Acharya states that in the Chandogya Upanishad, so he's actually quoting from Chandogya Upanishad, there are 8 symptoms of a Jivan Mukta, a person who is already liberated even when living in this body. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity, apahata papa. So these apahata papa, these are actually mentioned in the Chandogya Upanishad verse. I have not I do not know the exact verse from the Chandogya Upanishad, but apahata papa must be the word in that verse. As long as one is under them, so he is freed from all sinful activity. That is one of the symptoms of Jivan Mukta. As long as one is under the clutches of Maya and the material energy, he has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad-Gita describes such people as dushkritinah, which indicates that they are always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activity involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication and gambling. Another symptom of liberated, so that is the first thing. He is not sinful, his sinful stock is all finished, free from sinful life. Yeah, he is freed from all sinful activity, so he does not commit any sin. Another symptom of a liberated person is vijara, which indicates that he is not subject to the miseries of old age, jara vyadhi. So vijara, he is not subjected to the misery. Vijara means it is not that he will never become old, but the soul is always new, and that newness of the soul, if there is a word like that, the quality of being new will always be there even if the body may have become old. So he is detached, just like the shell and the flesh of the coconut. So although the body has become old, but he is still youthful at heart. And that is true for everyone. I mean, we all want to become youthful. But you see, like Prabhupada, how active he was. I mean, even in our prime of our youth, we can't be as active as he was when he was in the so-called fag end of his life. He always used to refer himself to as being at the fag end of his life. So his active nature, which is so vibrant. I mean, how many times he has traveled and how many books, how many letters, how many temples he has opened. I mean, this is just unimaginable. So that is vijara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take any more material bodies which are destined to die. So, of course, this body has to be given up, but mrityu means what? What is mrityu sarva haraschaham? That is the definition of mrityu. Kṛṣṇa says, I come as death. And why it is so painful, why it is so fearful? Because I take away everything from you. But for a devotee, what can he take away from a devotee? The death can never diminish the assets of a devotee. Ayur harate vaipumsam udyannastan chayannasau tasyarte yat kshanoneta uttama shloka vartaya. Ayur harati. Our lifetime is diminished by this rising and the setting of the sun. As time passes, our lifetime decreases. Right? That means, and what does that mean? Mrityu sarva haraschaham kalosmi lokakshayakrit pravruddho. So as time, I am the destroyer of the world, Kṛṣṇa says. So time basically destroys our assets in this material world. But neha bhikrama nashoste pratyavayo navidyate svalpamaptesya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So even the smallest advancement in Kṛṣṇa consciousness will not be lost with death. You see? So vimrityu. So although the body may seemingly, die, but none of the assets of a devotee are lost because they are eternal assets. So that's why it's called vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take any more material bodies which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeated birth and death. Another symptom is Vishoka, which indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. Shoka means lamenting or distressed. So Vishoka, he is callous to material distress and happiness. So materially he is not lamenting anything in this world. He is not lamenting anything. He may lament that he is not doing enough service, or he does not have any hope in his own devotional, like there is this, and that actually is an impetus to have hope in Kṛṣṇa, and that brings this mood of self-surrender to Kṛṣṇa. See this verse, we will come back here again. CC Madhyam 23.29. न प्रेमाश्रवणादिभक्तिरपि वा योगोऽथवा वैष्णवो ज्ञानं वा शुभकर्म वा कियदहो सज्जातिरप्यस्ति वा हीनार्थाधिकसाधके त्वयि तथाप्यच्छेद्यमूला सती हे गोपीजनवल्लभव्यथयते हा हा मदाशैव माम्. O my Lord, I do not have any love for you, nor am I qualified for discharging devotional service by chanting and hearing, nor do I possess the mystic power of a Vaishnava, knowledge or pious activities, nor do I belong to a very high caste family. On the whole, I do not possess anything. Still, O beloved of the gopis, because you bestow your mercy on the most fallen, I have an unbreakable hope that is constantly in my heart. That hope is always giving me pain. So he has this hope in Kṛṣṇa because he has no hope in himself. So that is different thing. That's a transcendental. But otherwise, materially, he has no shoka, vishoka, callous to material distress and happiness. Another symptom is vijighatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. That is another symptom. So he has no, what is that? Nakama karma bījanam cetasi sambhava vāsudeva-kathā-praśnaḥ esha Bhagavad-Gita. See this verse 11 to 50. Nakama karma bījanam yasya cetasi sambhava. One who has taken exclusive shelter of the Lord Vāsudeva becomes free from fruitive activities which are based on material lust. In fact, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is freed from even the desire to enjoy material sense gratification. Plans for enjoying sex life, social prestige and money cannot develop within his mind. Thus, he is considered Bhagavatottama, a pure devotee of the Lord on the highest platform. And actually, all the verses that follow also are all the symptoms of pure devotee. Okay? So this is Jivan Mukta. It's not finished yet. Another symptom is Apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotional service of Kṛṣṇa, his dearmost pursuable Lord. A further symptom is Satyakama, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the supreme truth, Kṛṣṇa. He does not want anything else. He is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Kṛṣṇa. Sankalpa means determination. And so whatever his determination will be fulfilled by Kṛṣṇa and therefore will always stay true. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit, and secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by the Lord's grace, that is called Satya Sankalpa. Śrīla Prabhupāda Thakur points out that the word Mahima means returning to the spiritual world, back home, back to Vaikuntha. So this Mahima, Sridhar Swami said that this means to be liberated in this life. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Mahima means to return to the spiritual world. Sukadeva Goswami says that Mahima means the devotee attains the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sadharma, the same quality. So in this way, Mahima has been, the word, there is Mahima in this verse. So it has been translated by different acharyas differently. But since Sridhar Swami said that to be liberated in this life, and therefore the reference of what it means to be liberated in this life is given from reference to Veeraraghavacharya's commentary, quoting from Chandogya Upanishad. So I think there is a follow-up question by Vrinda Mataji. Prabhuji, their perfection is achieved only by engaging in Krishna consciousness, then only they will be called as Siddhas? Yeah. You have to be perfect in Krishna consciousness, then you can be called as Siddha. Siddha means perfect. Of course, sometimes Siddha is also used to, Muktanam api Siddhanam. Whoever has at least achieved some transcendental realization, even if it is Brahman realization, it is perfect. So actually it is perfect, it is more perfect, it is most perfect. So Bhagavan realization is most perfect. Brahman realization is perfect, but not so perfect. Not most perfect. So it's not good enough. But perfect in the sense that compared to material desires, that is way above the material desires. But still, because it is not sustainable, therefore we may go back to again this contaminated thing. So although it is perfect situation, but it is not sustainable because of lack of activity, lack of happiness. Paramatma realization is also partial. Only Bhagavan realization solidifies that perfection and with no possibility of return back to contaminated state. Alright, so next. So 7:10:30 Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Rajeshwari is asking 7:10:30 Shri Bhagavan-uvacha Maivam vibho suraṇāṁ te pradeyah padmasambhava varah krūra nisargāṇāṁ ahīnāṁ amritam yathā. The personality of God had replied, My dear Lord Brahma, O great Lord, born from the lotus flower, just as it is dangerous to feed milk to a snake, so it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons, who are by nature ferocious and jealous. I warn you not to give such benedictions to any demon again. Prabhuji, in Treta Yuga again, Padmasambhava gives almost similar vara to Ravana. Like no Devata, no Kinnara, no Gandharva, no Rakshasa can kill him. Padmasambhava gives Padmasambhava. So kindly help me understand this in a right spirit. So that was by Shiva, right? I thought it was by Lord Shiva who gave him that. Not he got the strength from Lord Shiva, that's what I understand. I do not know Brahma. But anyway, Lord Shiva also gave to this Bhasmasura. So he did not, of course, Kṛṣṇa did not chastise Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is in a different category. But Brahma he did chastise. But anyway, it's the Lord's pastimes. You don't need to delve so deeply into this. Because, for example, Brahma Vimohan Leela happened when Kṛṣṇa was a kid, 6-7 years old, right? And then at that time he saw all the Brahmas from other universes, it is mentioned. And then in Dwarka again he was bewildered and he said, I am the four-headed Brahma, who do you think I am? And for him, how many years that is in earth life, and it is just moments away. How can he make the same mistake again? Again Kṛṣṇa had to bring on all the millions of Brahmas. So why does these things happen? Because, and also, Indra learnt his lesson in the Govardhan Leela. And then again when Satyabhama wanted Parijat flower, again he fought with Kṛṣṇa. What is going on in his head? He is a king of the heavenly planets. He doesn't have that much intelligence that, just a few moments ago you learned the lesson. And now again you are doing the same thing. This is idiotic, isn't it? But this is to assist the pastimes of the Lord. Then it will be clearly, when there is a Oh, some people say Kṛṣṇa is supreme, some people Indra is supreme, some people say Shiva is supreme, some people Brahma is supreme. Okay, then when they are put together, fight, let them fight. Then now let them decide. Let us see who wins the fight. So Kṛṣṇa always wins these fights. So to show that he is superior to Indra, superior to Brahma, superior to Lord Shiva. So sometimes these altercations are made so that to create faith in the people that Kṛṣṇa is the supreme. Otherwise, how would we know? Oh, Shaivites they say like this, or Vaishnavas they say like this, they will always fight among them. Okay, let those people, let the two personalities who are worshipped by the Shaivites and Vaishnavas, Kṛṣṇa and Shiva himself, fight among themselves, and let's see who wins. Oh, Shiva lost, Kṛṣṇa won. Okay, Kṛṣṇa is supreme. Now you cannot deny. So these things. So Brahma, he exhibited bewilderment to show that Brahma is bewildered, but Kṛṣṇa is not bewildered. And Kṛṣṇa is warning Brahma. I mean, who can warn? Or somebody who is much more superior also, right? So these are to create faith in us. So Kṛṣṇa does all these pastimes. I mean, before Mother Earth went to Brahma to complain, and Brahma went to the shore of the milk ocean, and in that milk ocean he prayed, and then Kṛṣṇa said, you all take birth as, you all assist me in my pastimes. So everything is already established. Brahma knows very well that Kṛṣṇa is coming. Again he Brahma Vimohan Lila. Again Dwarka, again he got bewildered. What is going on? Is Brahma so foolish? There are few moments he forgets everything. No. Again, to establish the faith. So Brahma assists. This is also assistance. To show that Kṛṣṇa is the supreme. So these kind of things. So that's why. So when they are cooperating in the Leela of Kṛṣṇa, we sometimes may not be able to understand everything. But we should understand that when they do that kind of things, there is a reason why they do. And that kind of things is mentioned here. We cannot sometimes directly question the activities of such great exalted personalities. So Rajeshwari Mata is saying no by Brahma. Okay. But what did Shiva do then in connection with Ravana? So I wanted to know that. Because I read Ramayana a long time ago, but I need to read again. What did Lord Shiva do? Because he was praying to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave him the benediction, and he was praying to Lord Shiva when Ram wanted to kill him. So then Shiva says, if Ram wants to kill him, who can protect him? So what is the connection with Shiva? I want to know. So okay, coming back to this, you see, 10:33:29. Okay, let's go to the question. Parikshit uvacha samsthapanaaya dharmasya prashamayetarasya cha avatirno hi bhagavan amshena jagadishwarah sakatham dharma setunam varta karta bhirakshita pratipam acharat brahman paradara-bhimarshanam. Paradara. Parikshit Maharaj said, O Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Universe, has descended to this earth along with his plenary portion to destroy irreligion and re-establish religious principles. Indeed, he is the original speaker, follower and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated them by touching other men's wives? So this Sukadeva Goswami is perfectly aware. Parikshit Maharaj is perfectly aware, but he is asking for removing the doubt of others who normal people have. Normal worldly people have this kind of doubts. So, we want to remove. So, apta kamo yadupatihi kritavan vai jugupsitam kim abhipraya etannah samshayam chindi suvrata. O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly. Now, although he's asked the question, how can he touch other people's wives? Immediately he said they're self-satisfied. He does not need an affair with another married woman to for satisfaction. Apta kamaha, self-satisfied. So this shows that Parikshit Maharaj knew very well that Kṛṣṇa was self-satisfied. He doesn't need any gopi. He's Swarat. He doesn't need even anybody. So then why did he do it? So please reveal the doubt, reveal this mystery. Then Shukadeva Goswami says, not only about Kṛṣṇa but anybody, the powerful controller. So Sri Shuka Uvacha, and this applies to all these great personalities like Brahma, Indra, like Shiva. धर्म व्यतिक्रमो दृष्ट ईश्वराणां च साहसं तेजीयसां न दोषाय वह्नेः सर्वभुजो यथा. Sukadeva Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them, for they are just like fire which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. The status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them. See that? So even if Brahma gave up that thing and then again did it, it's just to glorify the Lord only again, so that the Lord can, kill Ravan. Then naitat samachare jatu manasapi hyanishvaraha vinashyatyacharan maudhyad yathā rudrobdhijam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Ishvaranam vachah satyam tathaivaacharitam kvachit tesham yatsvavacho yuktam buddhimams tatsamacharet. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. But when they are not consistent with those statements, we have to understand that there is some plan of the Lord. So when they are consistent with those statements, with the statements of Vedic literature and with their own, powerful words, powerful prayers and everything that they offer to the Lord, and that is to be taken as example. When apparent contradiction is there, then there is some plan of the Lord. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions, not imitate them. Kushalacharite naisham iha swartho na vidyate viparyayena vanartho nirahankarinam prabho. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill, and even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. Because Kṛṣṇa uses them as example to teach us. So they are perfectly aware of the mission of the Lord and why He is coming. A few moments later they forget. What is that? They don't forget. So they are playing a part so that, in this Leela, so with this Leela we can get this understanding, we can get this faith. So they play a part. So this goes on, but this is the answer to that question. Okay, Vrindagupta asked a question on fame of women. Actually, I already explained this answer because she came to the USA class. So I explained there that fame in women means fame is a feminine word, because in everything has a linga, as a pumlinga or strilinga. There is a gender for every word in Sanskrit. So fame is actually a feminine word. So that's all it means actually. Sorry, I did not put the question on the screen, but this question was asked last class. But she asked it again in another Zoom session, so I'm not going to explain that. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy, asked. Who is chanting Hare Krishna and being happy and still asking questions? Sometimes his names are funny. He already has the answer in his name and asking question. I think maybe it is, I don't know, Subhadra Mataji or I don't know. So anyway, the names are funny sometimes. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance, all glories Prabhupada. Other souls that does not have a gross body can haunt other bodies that does not have strict principles in life, as they can enjoy sense gratification through others' bodies. But kids who are affected by such situations unfortunately cannot understand this and still do not take up sadhana seriously. So what's the question? So these ghosts who don't have gross body, they can haunt, they can possess and haunt those people who are spiritually very weak. in their sadhana and everything, or very dirty in their habits, that kind of thing. So predominantly those who are in the mode of ignorance, tamogun, are easy to haunt. If they're in sattvagun, they cannot be. She's saying that children who are affected by such situations unfortunately cannot understand this and still do not take up sadhana seriously. Well, if he is brought up in a sattvic way, then Kṛṣṇa will protect. Like you can see Nimanithai Prabhu, he has shown videos on how he raised his son Kṛṣṇa Sudham very nicely. Very nice, devotee, that boy. So in that way, the ghost can't do much, can't do anything. So I don't see a question there. Maybe, I don't know what was the point in that. I do not know. Okay, so Vrajeshwari Mataji, another question. Oh, so many questions by Vrajeshwari Mataji. Okay, these kind of questions I'm going to give a very simple answer. I think we already covered this answer kind of before. Where does Meru Parvat, which is very close to our Bharat Khanda, is not... Why does Meru Parvat, which is very close to our Bharat Khanda, is not seen by us, but we can see the moon, sun, Dhruvaloka and many other planets, which are very far compared to Meru Parvat, although all of them are composed of the same Panchabhutas? I do not know. I do not know. This cosmology is very difficult to understand, honestly. So subtle. Something that's subtle. Like we can see, say, the sun from here, but we can't see any living entities on the sun. We can see the moon, but we can't see any living entities on the moon. So our vision, although Panchabhutas, but then we can't see many things. So Meru Parvat, I do not know where the Meru Parvat is. No idea. But it is there. So that's why we should not try to check the statements of the Shastras which are corroborating it with our experience. So to accept the Shastra as it is, and if we cannot perceive or understand it with our sensory perception, that is not a disqualification of the Shastric words, but it is the imperfection of our situation. And valid question, but I don't have the answer. There must be a reason, but I don't have the answer. Okay? But we have to accept on the statements of the Shastras. That we must do. We may or may not be able to understand this. Like you see, for example, biology, the description of the development of the womb within the mother, development of the fetus within the womb of the mother, it's so accurate, and only in 1956 or something, the sonogram or the scan was used to see the baby, the shape of the baby. So until then, how could it be accepted? Just on the Vedas. But even now, although they can see this, they cannot still see the level of detail that is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So our perception is very limited. We cannot see many things, we cannot understand many things. But by Shastra we can understand. Now it is easier to accept the description of the womb, the development of the fetus within the womb, development of the child. Because we already have some, CT scan and some, ultrasound scan. But would we have had the same faith, say in 19th century or early 20th century? We should have, even if it was not shown at that time. So with progress of science, we may or may not be able to see the mountains, the Meru mountain. But that does not disqualify the statements of the Shastras. So we should always look at it the other way. Our perception is defective and Shastra is always perfect. Always perfect. You may say, oh, that is dogmatic. Well, you may say whatever you want, because many people like that, oh, by observation and experimentation, then only we can verify. So you verify a fact with your imperfect senses, and if your imperfect senses can perceive, then only it is correct. There's so much limitation in our senses, so how can we take that as a yardstick? We should rather take the words of God as a yardstick, Bhagavatam, which are, all words are perfect. So whatever words we can comprehend, if we see, they're all perfect. Like the miseries of family life, for example, or the sun, for example, or the earth, or the Panchabhuta, whatever is within our experience, which is explained in the Vedic literature, it all sounds logical. And sometimes there are statements which may not appeal to our immediate logic. So how can everything else be right and some of them wrong? So Ishvarer Vakya Saba Nahi Dosha Esab Brahm Brahma Vipralipsa Karna Pata. There is no imperfection in them. So you just accept them as axiomatically. Axiomatically means as an axiom. They are truth, that's it. Without any proof. They are always truth. And if we want to verify anything, we have to verify against the Shastras. Not verify against our perception of reality. Our perception is not perfect, but reality is always fact. So if I see something, I should corroborate with Shastra. Like, I am seeing like this, but Shastra is saying like this, so I am seeing something defectively. So Shastra is the anchor. It's not that our experience is the anchor. Oh, if I can experience, yes, now I can believe in the Shastric words. Yes, it is correct. This is correct. That is correct. I will verify. Whether the Shastra is correct or not. So that I can't do. Okay. Subhodip Bose is asking, is there imperfections in Upanishads? Absolutely not. But they are catering to different levels of people in the Tamogun, Rajogun, Sattvagun. That's why they seem so variegated, the Vedic literature, because actually the whole thing is to elevate them to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. But some people are in the Tamogun, some people are in the Rajogun, some people are in the Sattvagun, some people are in the mixture of all these. So to elevate the people, it is said that, okay, climb to, at least from mode of ignorance, climb to mode of passion. Say, instead of eating meat every day, okay, eat meat once a month, only on Amavasya day, offer it to Kali. And so that is, but then in other places it is said, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, you can only eat vegetarian category offered to me, that too. If you are not offering to me and eating other than Kṛṣṇa Prasadam, that is sinful. But in other places, Vedas, it is said you can eat meat, by offering to Kali. So how can this be contradiction, right? It's not. So for a person who is already in the Sattvagun, there are certain rules. For somebody in Tamogun, instead of letting him eat everything and anything, so okay, there is some restriction. Okay, at least stop this and come to at least some standard. And from there, slowly, one day you climb up. So Subhodip is asking, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 647, I felt Prabhu. So I do not know what that verse is. You have to show me the verse, because I have not read that Upanishad. So you have to show me the Sanskrit, and I will have to do some reading, and I will have to find out. But anyway, why are you worried about Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 647? You first study our Bhagavad-Gita and everything. So why they are mentioned, in which context or what is the purpose, we do not know. Okay? If our Acharya has explained, we can know. Definitely our Acharyas can explain. But I have not seen 647. What do you mean by 647? I have no idea. So I have no tool here to take out this thing on the screen here. Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 647 is not mentioned. Unless it is mentioned in some purport, you can point me to that and we can see what it is mentioned there. But otherwise, I don't want to. And anyway, this question you have asked in this class, right? So I would not go into that. So since the imperfections in Upanishads, you said that was related to the question under discussion, so I just answered that. So I would not want to go. If your questions are there, maybe you can ask again in the next session of the AMAM, the same question if you want, and maybe you can maybe you can leave a comment here also. What is the actual Sanskrit of the verse and what is the translation that you have read? And let me analyze that, because maybe I won't be able to analyze it on the spot. I have to do my reading, do my research if I have time, that too. So basically these sessions, I would love to learn if there is anything, whatever it is, but mostly is to enhance our understanding of Kṛṣṇa consciousness as we read Prabhupada's books, and we can understand more. But since you asked that, so you give me the Sanskrit and the translation which you know, and then I will see if I can find out something about that in my pockets of free time. Okay. So alright, going to the next question. This is all from the last session, alright. Okay, I think Vrajeshwari Mataji's 3 questions have been answered. I think there are 2 more. I'll go to the next one. Subhodip Bose has asked. If I have time, I'll come back to Vrajeshwari Mataji's questions. Prabhuji, can you explain in a nutshell about birth-based caste system in Bhavishya Puran chapter 38? So I have not read the Bhavishya Puran chapter 38, so I can't comment. Okay, so I will have to do my reading and then only I can get back to you. And who is translating and what, So okay, I have some understanding of what is this birth-based caste system. I have already told earlier in today's session about Gotra Dharma. In Bhagavad-Gita also, this kind of parampara by father to son is mentioned. Like Vivasvan, Manu and Ikshvaku. They are all in the same family. But it is the instruction that made the next person as a successor in the parampara, not just by seminal birth. You have to understand that. Yes, there's an advantage of a person being born in a Brahmana family so that he can be taught the Brahmanical principles. But if he just takes birth in a Brahmin family and has nothing and then lives like a cat and dog, then he is not Brahmana. On what basis is he Brahmana? The qualities of Brahmanas are mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita. Samodama, Tapas, Shaucham. Where are the qualities? So, yes, it used to be like that. Brahman's son had a very good chance to become a Brahmana, and they usually became Brahmanas. And that's why it came to be known like that. Okay, he is Brahmana's son, so he is following that sampradaya. That means the teachings are being handed down in the family. But if it does not happen that way, if there is no teachings, if there is no culture passed down, then that is not worth anything. So that is what I understand. But Bhavishya Puran, what you have mentioned, so it used to be like that. Vedic way of Brahman is like that. He had to be born. Yathā kāñcanatāṁ yāti kāmsam rasavidhānatah. Haribhakti Vilas Sanatana Goswami gives definite instructions that by proper initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, one can immediately become a Brahmana. As bell metal is turned into gold when mixed with mercury in an alchemical process, so one who is properly trained and initiated by a bona fide spiritual master immediately becomes a Brahmana. This is the Pancharatra Vidhi of making somebody a Brahmana who has not taken birth in a Brahmana family, not by proper samskara. Because a soul who is pious will enter into a family where there is Garbhadhan samskar and all this from birth, and the father mother's consciousness. Because you see, Kashyapa Muni and Diti, they had sexual intercourse, and immediately after the intercourse, Kashyapa said, these 2 people will be demons. He could have said, okay, some horrible people entered here, but I will try to change them later on. So they had the sex at the wrong time with the wrong mentality, especially Diti. So it gave rise to this. So there is a certain amount of influence by birth. There is, certainly. So if it is done properly, yes, a proper soul who is actually pious will enter. But if somebody is not pious or whatever it is, if he somehow or other, by the mercy of the spiritual master, if he somehow agrees to follow then he can become perfect. Narad Muni in his previous life was a maidservant son, and there was no information on who the father was. So it is quite a questionable birth, Narad Muni's. But still he attained perfection because of sadhu sangha. So this sadhu sangha is so powerful that it can counteract completely the defects of birth. I'll show you another one. You see, 11 Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11, 13, 1. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion and ignorance, pertain to material intelligence and not to the spirit soul. By development of material goodness, one can conquer the modes of passion and ignorance, and by cultivation of transcendental goodness, one may free oneself even from material goodness. So, when the living entity becomes strongly situated in the mode of goodness, then religious principles characterized by devotional service to me become prominent. One can strengthen the mode of goodness by cultivation of those things that are already situated in goodness, and thus religious principles arise. So one can strengthen the mode of passion similarly by cultivating those things that are already situated in passion, and in that situation the religious principles becomes hazy. We are not clear about what is real religion. And then if we cultivate those things that are already in ignorance, then religious principles will be lost. So religious principles strengthened by the mode of goodness destroy the influence of passion and ignorance. When passion and ignorance are overcome, their original cause, irreligion, is quickly vanquished. Now, these are the 10 things that can be in either goodness, passion or ignorance. So if all these 10 things with which we associate are in the mode of goodness, then we will become in the mode of goodness. If they are in the mode of passion, passion. If in the mode of ignorance, ignorance. So out of these 10 things, Janma is also there. So Janma, birth, is also a factor. What kind of Janma, in what kind of family, in what kind of situation, what kind of country, what kind of dynasty I have taken birth. So that also matters, because that will greatly influence your habits, on your upbringing. That is why. And not only that, like Kashyapa, he could have easily trained Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, but they were totally out of control. Like even Vena was like that. Maharaj Anga tried everywhere, but still Vena, because of his birth like that, because of his mother's Naranam Matulam Karma. So Matula Karma means he gains the qualities of his maternal uncles. So his mother was the daughter of death, and therefore the daughter will inherit the qualities of father, and the son will inherit the qualities of mother. So the Sunitha, who is the wife of King Anga was a great devotee, but Sunitha, being the daughter of death personified, her character was not so good. And then later on, her son also, she developed the qualities from her father, and her son developed qualities from her. So he will have qualities of the grandfather. So he was killing everybody. Even as a child, he used to kill other children, slaughter them. So Maharaj Anga tried everything, but still could not. So birth definitely, there is a influence there. But if one is agreeable to follow the instructions of a spiritual, sadhu, then just by the association, the second birth, so Janma, although birth is there, but the second birth, Dvijatvam jayate nirnam yathā kanchanatam yati. So bell metal can be turned into gold. So bell metal is not very valuable, but gold is very valuable. So a person can be turned into very valuable, a Vaishnava, by this second birth process, this initiation process. So definitely there is some merit in the Janma, but if it is not used properly, then it is worse. It is worse than the Chandala who has become a devotee. You may ask, if he became a devotee, if he has that kind of good quality in him, why did he take birth in Chandal family then? That can be another question. So Kṛṣṇa, so what to speak of Chandal family? Bharat Maharaj became even a deer, animal family. So depending on where the person left off, or some offense or something like that, which has caused that momentary blemish, but then he can regain his thing by this thing. And such Chandal family or whatever, there are some limitations. So those limitations may become sort of impetus for that person to actually totally become disgusted with the material life, and he may see the like very naked nonsense form of material world, and may come out of that. And he can serve as an impetus, provided he fell down because of some offense, because of which he got this kind of birth. Like for example, Vidura, he is actually Yamaraj. He was cursed to become a Shudra by this that Muni. What is his Muni? Mandukya Muni or something like that. So he was cursed to become a Shudra. So you may say, oh, pure devotee, how come Shudra family? Yeah, there's some background, we do not know. But it doesn't, that blemish does not stop the spiritual progress of such a person. Okay? So therefore, sometimes, although mostly Janma is an indication of whatever previous, the mode of material nature, but sometimes it happens due to extraordinary special circumstances for whatever reason. So sometimes because of that, one may take birth. Therefore, Narada Muni in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 7th canto, 11th chapter, 35th verse, clearly states, Yasya yallakshanam proktam pumso varnabhivyanjakam yadanyatrapi drishyet tatte naiva vinirdishet. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, yad anyatra apidrishyeta tat tenaiva vinirdishet. Even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification, not based on birth. So this is a clear, very, very clear statement here. And he did, Mrigari was a hunter, tribal hunter, way fallen in the human society, but he made him into such a Vaishnava that even great Brahmins cannot equal him. That is the power of a sadhu. So he instills some kind of sincerity in that person. So he instilled an amount of sincerity in the Mrigari, telling him about the truth of what was going to happen, what are the consequences of his so-called art of half killing animals. So he stopped his art. He did not appreciate, how great his archery, talent, how can we, subdue somebody's talent. No. Mandukya Muni. So, Mandukya Muni, okay. So how can we subdue somebody's talent? No, he did not care. Your talent is the cause of your going to hell. Change your talent. Chant Hare Krishna. And that's it. He stopped his hunting. He was greatly proud of their art, which he learned. Give up. Sakalameva vihaya duraj chaitanya chandra charane kurutanuragam. Whatever you have learned, throw it far away. You rascal. Yes, Janmana Jayate Shudra. So, Janmana Jayate Shudra. So, by birth, everybody is Shudra. Unless one does the Garbhadhan Samskar, then yes, a proper soul will enter. But otherwise, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everybody is Shudra by birth. And he receives education and Dvijatvam Jayate Nirnam. So, Samskarat Bhaved Dvija, Veda Pathat Bhaved Vipra, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. So, in this way. Alright, I hope that answers the question. Rakshita Mataji is asking. (9:15) already. I am unable to finish my morning sadhana. Instead, I am doing evening due to work schedules. Please bless me and help to come out of this. Well, I have no power to bless anyone. Are you working a night shift or something? I do not understand why you cannot do the morning. Maybe it's a night shift. If it's a night shift, you can't do much about it. But what you can do is when you come back, before you go and sleep, you can do the program first and then go and sleep. Or even if you're in your workplace and nothing much happening at night, you can just sing the Samsara Dhavan Alalita Loka at the Mangalarti time. Mangalarti evening not so good. You can adjust somehow, some other way. Or if your work starts very early, then you wake up. I don't know how early does your work start. Does it start at 5 a.m.? Or you have to commute to a workplace? I need to know more details here to evaluate your situation. But that much information which you have given in the question, I can't really understand your situation. Okay, but try to do in the morning. That's the best. The Mangalarti and all. Of course, you can chant in the evening. There's no hard and fast rule in that. But morning program, somehow or other, if it can be set, if you try, there might be a way to tweak that. So I need to know more details to give a proper advice on this. Maybe you can write an email or a comment on this live stream or something like that. Maybe you can take it up. Prakash is asking, why doesn't ISKM, actually I think you meant ISKM, why doesn't ISKM release a FAQ book on Lord Kṛṣṇa's pastimes so that those who have wrong understanding about Lord Kṛṣṇa read it first before jumping to Bhagavad-Gita as it is or Śrīmad Bhāgavatam? Well, if they have wrong understanding, the proper way to deal with that is read first. Half knowledge is dangerous. If I just hear from somebody, I am hearing somebody's version of it, and if I come to conclusion, that shows that I am an idiot. So I cannot take people's words and whoever saying, I must corroborate with the Shastra. So if I have wrong understanding, so okay, let me read. Let me with an open mind read. Like how we understood, how we accept Kṛṣṇa, he is not doing any immoral activities or something like that. So if we read diligently Prabhupada's books, eventually we will understand all this. Like we are answering these questions. How do we know all these things? We did not have an FAQ book that we read it from. We did not. So, how did we learn? So we read Prabhupada's books and then we understand one by one. So, and even though I am answering here, there is more depth to all these things. So we will gather these as we are reading Prabhupada's books, and we will gather the many pieces of all this understanding that we need to have to strengthen our argument, or at least our understanding, and which will help in our argument with anybody who does not have that understanding. There's no need of a separate book, but of course we will leave them as articles in our magazines or on our website as much as possible. We are trying to now organize that whole thing, because our articles have never been really organized in a nice way, and so we are starting to have some kind of a plan. So let's see, so that we can have all these things on a online format, online medium, so that people can access it. And I also want to start on Quora, maybe answer one question a day or something like that, but I need to organize myself. So that is that. Alright, so next question. Kallesh is asking, is human life eligible for belief, Prabhu? Okay, just this one. Dimitri Prabhu is saying, small books is a good start. Yeah, you can start with small books. If you don't want to read the Bhagavad-Gita at once, read the small books slowly, understand everything, and then make an informed decision. Okay, coming back to the question. Okay. Is human life eligible for belief, Prabhu? Belief in what? You have to believe the words of God. Eligible for belief means what? Any living entity is eligible for belief. Like a spider spreads its web with the belief that one day this one insect will come into this. That is the belief of the spider. Eventually it happens. So everyone is believing. So what do you mean by eligible for belief? Every single creature is eligible for belief. Every creature is waking up in the morning and believing that he will get the food today's food. So what do you mean? Belief? Eligible? I don't understand the question. But if you're talking in the manner of faith, religion, only in human life, dharma tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhe samana. So without dharma is only in human life, and dharma is not just belief. Dharma is the word of God, and we have to sometimes accept on belief, but it's not blind belief. Whereas to believe the scientists is to believe blindly, because the scientists are talking nonsense. They're talking about Big Bang, how the universe started, but they don't even know how the COVID-19 virus started. What kind of nonsense Big Bang? What is the use of the theory? If we can't even know something that started right under the noses, and they are trying to say Big Bang, somewhere which happened billions of years ago. How do they generate that faith in the public? Only idiots would have faith in such people. So we believe in the perfect, viewpoint of Shastra, which is the word of God, which are facts. So that is informed belief. Yes, human beings should do that. Alright, next question. These kind of questions are like, never read the book, simply ask. Okay. Is there any difference between Shiva and Kṛṣṇa? Shiva is the devotee of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is the master. Shiva is the servant. But Shiva is not a Jivarasi like one of us. But he is not equal to Kṛṣṇa also. He is not equal to Narayan also. So these qualities have been analyzed by great acharyas, and Lord Shiva has 85% of all the qualities of Kṛṣṇa, and in extremely great quantities. So he is an expansion of Kṛṣṇa. Shiva is an expansion of Kṛṣṇa to deal with this material world. Now, to support all of this, there are so many statements from the Vedas, and we can make a series on this. What is the difference between Shiva and Kṛṣṇa? That much material is there. But as a synopsis, this is the thing, that if you see Lord Shiva, he is always meditating. Lord Kṛṣṇa is just playing. So, whom is he meditating on? Shiva. That means he is meditating on, actually he revealed later that he meditates on Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is not, he is just playing. That is God. In fact, even one philosopher, I think Western philosopher, he said, I have gone to, because this was in British occupation of India. So he was just intrigued by Indian culture and all that. So he went to many temples in many different parts of India, and he said, I have seen many temples of various deities, Kali, Shiva, Muruga, and everybody. I see everybody is doing something, but I see only Kṛṣṇa is the one who is simply enjoying. Everybody else has some kind of a duty, they have some duty. But Kṛṣṇa is just enjoying. So I feel that is God. And actually that's a fact. So everybody has a duty, but the boss, he is free. He will do whatever he wants. So he only enjoys with his devotees. Leela. Everybody else has duties. Now you may say, hey, Viṣṇu is in charge of maintenance. He maintains effortlessly. So, it is not that his duty. He is not duty bound. He is maintaining for our benefit. Oh, he must do it. Viṣṇu must do it. Who are we to dictate? He is doing it for our benefit. He doesn't need to do it. We have been rotten souls. He can just condemn us to eternal hell and keep us there. But he is giving us a chance by doing this creation, so that saha yajñāh praja sriṣṭvā, so he can put forth the yajnic process so that people can gradually elevate themselves. So it is by His mercy He is doing it. Again, it is not obliged. Whereas Brahma and Shiva, they are obliged under the order of Kṛṣṇa. So difference, okay, let's show this verse because this is the Brahma Samhita 5.45. क्षीरं यथा दधि विकार विशेष योगात् संजायते न हि ततः पृथगस्ति हेतोः यः शम्भुतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्यात् गोविन्दमादि पुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither same as nor different from its cause vis-a-vis milk. So I adore the primeval Lord, Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. So the difference is like between milk and yogurt. So from milk you get yogurt by the action of by the adding of some contaminants, some acids. So similarly, what is the contamination that is added to milk, which is Kṛṣṇa, which is representing Kṛṣṇa in this verse, that it has become curd now. Curd is compared to, or yogurt is compared to this Lord Shiva. So what is that contamination that made that transition? That is his touch with Maya, direct touch with Maya. He is the husband of Durga Devi, who is the superintendent of Maya. So he directly deals with Maya, whereas Kṛṣṇa has zero dealings with Maya, personally. So he deputes Lord Shiva to deal with Maya. Therefore, because of that. So from curd you cannot get back milk, but from milk you can get curd. So Kṛṣṇa has all the potencies of Shiva, but Shiva does not have all the potencies of Kṛṣṇa. The qualities of Shiva are a subset of the qualities of Kṛṣṇa. Right, so that is that. Dullabh Mera Man. Dullabh Meraman. How can I please Lord Narasimha? I am very much attached to this form of the Lord. I chant Ugram Viram. What more can I do? You can chant Hare Krishna. See, whether you want to go to Narasimha, whether you want to go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whether you want to go to Narayan, whether you want to go to Pradyumna, Sankarshan, you have to, whatever is your Swarup. Now you are saying you are attracted to Narasimha, but you are also attracted to many things in the material world. So, you have to, even to get Narasimha also, you have to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. You have to follow in the footsteps of the Acharya. Then you will get the desired destination. So, in the Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us that this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the Iha hoite sarva siddhi hobe tumar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, just by chanting, all perfection will be there. So whether you are destined to reach Narasimha or Balaram or Kṛṣṇa or Ram, Chandra Bhagwan, whoever it is, by just chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and becoming a faithful follower of Śrīla Prabhupāda first. See, by saying that you are directly Narasimha's devotee, you have attraction to Narasimha. See, that is not how we approach God. We cannot approach God saying that I am His devotee. Because ye me bhakta jana partha na me bhakta sate jana. You see, this is from the Adi Puran. Kṛṣṇa telling Arjuna, ye me bhakta jana partha na me bhaktascha te jana mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas te me bhaktatamamata. Those, Lord Kṛṣṇa told Arjuna, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees. But those who are the devotees of my servant are actually my devotees. So, you have to become a servant of Prabhupada first. We cannot say that we are Narasimha. Maybe you have some preliminary attraction, but that is based more on sentiment than our original Svarupa. So, we don't have very much knowledge or anything like that. We need to be enlightened. We need to have a sadhana process. By some good fortune, you have attraction for Narasimha. That is good. But you have to follow the Acharya. Otherwise, you cannot get Narasimhadeva's favor. Okay? You chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and become a disciple of Prabhupada. Read Prabhupada's books. Try to understand everything about Kṛṣṇa. We are not in a state where we can decide who is my Ishta Devata, Ishta form. We cannot. So you just follow the principles laid down by Śrīla Prabhupāda and everything. Eventually, when one is perfect, one has perfected one's sadhana, then these things will be revealed by the grace of the spiritual master. Again by the grace of the spiritual master. Without grace of the spiritual master, we cannot have any of this. Okay? Hare Krishna. Next question. We are already actually 9:30, you see. Actually, this is the time I want to end all classes, honestly. Because otherwise I am going late into the night. Okay, so Subhodip is asking, when all forms of God are spiritual, so if one worships wholeheartedly other forms like Durga or Kali, following all the principles of Bhagavad-Gita, so how does it differ in our spiritual progress? So have you read Bhagavad-Gita first, sir? I don't think you have read Bhagavad-Gita. Because if you follow, your question absolutely doesn't make any sense. It is like a question of a person who hasn't read the Bhagavad-Gita. So you have to read our Bhagavad-Gita first. Now you are saying, how does it differ in our spiritual progress if we follow all the principles of Bhagavad-Gita and wholeheartedly worship other forms like Durga or Kali? That means you haven't read Bhagavad-Gita says that you cannot, avidhi purvakam. If you do other like Durga Puja or Kali Puja or Shiva or any other puja, they are all devatas. They are servants of Kṛṣṇa, very exalted servants, but they are not Kṛṣṇa. You cannot equate them to Kṛṣṇa. That is an offense. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Devataihi Samatvena eva viksheta sa pashandi bhavet dhruvam. If a person considers even such a great devata as Shiva as equal to Narayana, he is an atheist. And let me show you Bhagavad-Gita, right? We are talking about following all the principles of Bhagavad-Gita and yet worshipping other forms like Durga and Kali. What are you talking about? You have to read Bhagavad-Gita. You cannot ask questions simply for the sake of asking. You must read, na? What is this? You see, yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaha tepi mameva kaunte yajantihi avidhipurvakam. Wrong way. Avidhipurvakam. Vidhi anusar means according to vidhi. Avidhipurvakam means wrong. Not in the proper line. Those who are devotees of other gods and worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. Because they are trying to Kṛṣṇa. The devatas are nothing but the parts of the body of Kṛṣṇa, parts and parcels of Kṛṣṇa. So, by watering the part and parcel of a tree, like a branch of a tree, a flower of a tree, by watering the leaf of a tree, that is not the proper way to worship the tree. Yeah, you are touching the tree with your water, but it's not the proper way. Avidhipurvakam. Vidhipurvakam means you water the root, then every single one of these nook and corner of the tree will go, that nourishment, whatever nutrients. So it will go everywhere. So that is the way to do. Yathā taror mūla nishechanena tripyante tatskandha bhujopashakha pranopahara chayatendriyanam arhanam achyutejya. What is that? 4:31, 14. Tathaiva sarva arhanam achyutejya. So, as pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods. Demigods means devatas, not demons. Some people say, why are you calling them demigod? Demigod means they equated to demons. No, we are not saying that. Demigods means they are not supreme God, like semi-gods or partial gods, who have received the grace from the supreme God to act in whatever powerful capacity they are now acting as. Okay, so they are called demigods. Okay? So just by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. So this is the principle of Bhagavad-Gita. And Kṛṣṇa finally says, he says, Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayashyami ashucha. Mam ekam, only, and me only. Mam ekam, me only, nobody else. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam, exclusive surrender to me alone. Then I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. If you have partially to me, partially to this devata, partially to that Baba, I am not interested in you. You will get partial results only. And for all the nonsense you are doing, equating them to me, you will incur sin. So, you cannot say like this, that wholeheartedly worshipping forms like Durga or Kali. How can you wholeheartedly worship without knowing who they are? Durga is called Vaishnavi Devi. Vaishnavi means she is a devotee of Viṣṇu. You are saying, okay, you are asking, but they are servants, as you said. Servants means what? Servants means what? But we are worshipping them for what? For Kṛṣṇa Bhakti? No. Worshipping wholeheartedly, and for what? Demigod worship is condemned. They are servant. Servant means what? We have to go through the parampara system. Cannot invent our own way. Although Lord Shiva has his own parampara, we have to go through the Acharya who is the current link in the parampara. We cannot just go directly jump and some Acharya somewhere. You see. This is also explained. We cannot invent our own way. 297, I think, 8. 298. Okay, let's search for current link. Okay, 297. You see, as already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe, and since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is coming down by disciplic succession, and in order to receive the real message of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession. I cannot just directly. Yes, Lord Shiva has one of the Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, which is the Vaishnava Sampradaya. We cannot go directly to Lord Shiva and ask him, okay, how are we going to be instructed? We go to the current link in the Sampradaya. In the chain of after being initiated by the proper spiritual master in that chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya and the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being, and unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural instructions as revealed in the Bhagavad-Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam especially, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord himself appears as a spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. This is the way. Subhodip is saying doubt cleared. Okay, very good. Okay, Kanik Sharma is asking. I have to go abroad for my further studies, but I want to stay connected to Kṛṣṇa. I think association matters and their Western culture and Maya would trap me. Should I go or not? You are saying in the first sentence that I have to go. Now you are asking, should I go or not? I think you have already made up your mind to go, so just go. What can I say? So, you have made up, I don't think you will listen if I say you don't go. And maybe it is sometimes a blessing, because I came out from India and I got connected here. So, because I was away from my parents, I could take some decisions on my own, just on the basis of understanding of the Shastra and by the association of devotees. If the family was near me, it would have been more of a Maya for me, because they wouldn't have allowed me so easily. But being away from them, I had an advantage personally of taking my own decisions without taking their permission. So you may say, oh, that's not being obedient, you're not being a nice son. I am being a nice son. I don't need their permission to be a nice son. That's what I'm trying to say. So nice son means who is a devotee. So by being a devotee, one is automatically the best son. So in whatever little way I can, we became that nice son to our parents. So if we would have asked them, they would have asked us not to become such a nice son, in the initial stages at least. But once we have accepted that position, after some time they had to accept what we were doing, so at least they left us doing what we were doing. So sometimes that can be an advantage. So for me that was an advantage, coming out of India. So you never know, you go, you depend on Kṛṣṇa since you are going there. So then you become a devotee, associate with the, our online classes are there. I don't know which place you are going, but if we have a temple there, we can. If we don't have, ISKCON may be there, but again the guru issue will come. They will ask you to take initiation from some guru who is not authorized, so that is not proper. So you got to just keep yourself educated. Now at least there is online material here, so you can keep in touch with us, and maybe if you can become strong enough, you can start something there. Alright. I mean, already this thing is a big hurdle, trap, Maya, and still you are going further studies. Why you are going? Anyway, maybe you can be posted there as a temple president eventually, in that whatever country you are going. Alright, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Next, I think the last question. There are some questions which were asked today, but I am sorry because it's already 9:40. I have to take those questions only next session. I am very sorry, because this session was, as I said many times in the beginning, a couple of times, that this is actually to answer those leftover questions from the previous session of last week. Otherwise, today was supposed to be the studying of Vaishnava songs. Okay, writer unboxed. Guruji, I quit Hari Bhakti whenever I see an old video of Prabhupada talking about woman rape. If you know, can you clarify this? If you know that, can you clarify this? So, I don't know whether you want clarification or, are you prepared to come back to Hari Bhakti? I mean, so you see, by finding a fault, why you actually left Hari Bhakti? Not because of some talk about rape and all this. You left Hari Bhakti because of your offense to Prabhupada. You considered him an ordinary person with a materialistic person who had an opinion, and you wanted to judge his opinion, which is why you decided to leave Kṛṣṇa con. Not you decided, Kṛṣṇa made you leave because of a wrong attitude towards his pure devotee, and Kṛṣṇa doesn't like that. So, I will come to your question, but I will just say this attitude is not correct, that we try to question the spiritual master, try to doubt him. Yasya sakshat bhagavati jnana deepa prade gurau martya saddhihi śruttam tasya sarvam kunjara shauchavat. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord, because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. So this is what actually happened, and this is why you left Haribhakti, because you have more faith in your own understanding than to try to understand why Śrīla Prabhupāda said like that, what is actually the truth. And instead of inquiring like that, you decided that he was wrong, which is why you left. Now, what Prabhupada said about rape. Okay, so there are a couple of statements which some people have problem with. So it's one of the purports, which is I think 428:41 or okay, let me see. (425:41). So here in the end he says, in this word, the word vikyatam is very significant. Man is always famous for his aggression toward a beautiful woman, and such aggression is sometimes considered rape. Although rape is not legally allowed, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. So this is one of the statements. So this aggression, so of course, any man on the street just to with a view to commit violence is doing rape, of course the woman is terrified for her life. We are not denying that. But in generally, a woman like the aggressive behavior of a man towards her. The woman wants him to propose to him, and he makes some advances and the woman likes that. Although sometimes externally she shows disinterest or plays hard to get. Hard to get means you have to work harder to get me, kind of attitude she may put on that she is not interested in him or what. But they enjoy this kind of advancement made by a man whom she likes, and sometimes it may end up in actually a sexual conduct. So women like a man who is aggressive at sexual conduct, and even otherwise, even making advances towards that. So although rape is not legally allowed, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. So of course, violent rape by a complete rapist, serial rapist, this kind of people is horrible. I mean, it's a traumatic experience for the woman. But within marriage also, there are sometimes it is illegal for a man who rapes a woman. So a woman, if she wants, she can complain against that. So these kind of laws are there in some countries. So it is certainly illegal, but they like. I mean, many women, they want. Rape is when the woman does not want, it is considered rape, but otherwise it's called consensual sex, when both parties are agreeable. So Prabhupada is giving this broad definition where mostly the women are agreeable, and then he makes that advancement and the woman also likes it, and in that way they like. But even in a traumatic experience, there is undoubtedly, invariably, in the midst of all the trauma that goes on during a rape, a violent rape, like from a completely unknown man, the rubbing of genitals always causes a feeling of pleasure. That's just the nature. I mean, even if a person just if the genitals are touched, this itching sensation, So when the genitals are touched, there is arousal of sexual feelings. So that cannot be removed even in such a traumatic experience, even in the midst of the trauma. Actually, and I mean, it is not. We are not saying that, oh, there you go, and women like rape. We are not saying that, but that pleasure, that sense of pleasure of the rubbing of the genitals, that is there even in that traumatic situation. There is a lot of trauma, but there is also this element to it. That does not mean they enjoy, but in the consensual, where the man actually makes advances, and woman may make a show of not interested or trying to resist, but actually she enjoys that. And why did Prabhupada say like this? Because this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, and in the spiritual world, Kṛṣṇa does these kind of things with Radharani and the gopis, and Radharani externally puts this face of being angry at Kṛṣṇa, but actually she loves it. And in the material world, it also has to be like that, in a loving relationship. So in that way, in that context, yes. So there is a verse like that actually. I think it's this one. This is from Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami. Vacha shuchita sharvari kala pragalbhyaya radhikam vrida kunchita lochanam virachayan agre sakhinam asau tadvakshoruha chitra kelimakari panditya param gata kaishoram safali karoti kalayan kunje viharam hari. Lord Kṛṣṇa made Srimati Radharani close her eyes in shame before her friends by his words relating their amorous activities on the previous night. He attacked her. Actually, Radharani was going with her friends on the path, and Kṛṣṇa attacked her, ambushed her, and then he related to her friends all the things that she did with him the previous night in the groves of Vraja, what they did. So it was very embarrassing. He embarrassed her in front of everyone. So Lord Kṛṣṇa made Srimati Radharani close her eyes in shame before her friends by his words relating their amorous activities on the previous night. Then he showed the highest limit of cleverness in drawing pictures of dolphins in various playful sports on her breasts. So she was closing her eyes, then he ripped open her dress and then drew the dolphins on her breasts. I mean, she certainly loved it, but externally she's like, it's aggressive behavior from Kṛṣṇa, but she loved it. And in the material world, a reflection of that thing. Of course, it is completely different. This is completely different. It's not, ordinary sexual things that is going on between Radha and Kṛṣṇa, but it's a perverted reflection in this material world. So in this way, Lord Hari made his youth successful by performing pastimes in the bushes with Sri Radha and her friends. Yes, so 268. So this is actually what I wanted to show also. Dimitri has shown here. 268. From the Lord's genitals originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. So because of the Lord's genitals, in the reflection in this material world, there is also this genital, and it says that the pleasure, so okay, let's read the purport. The genitals and the pleasure of begetting counteract the distresses of family encumbrances. One would cease to generate altogether if there were not, by the grace of the Lord, a coating, a pleasure-giving substance on the surface of the generative organs. This substance gives a pleasure so intense that it counteracts fully the distress of family encumbrances. A person is so captivated by this pleasure-giving substance that he is not satisfied by begetting a single child, but increases the number of children with great risk in regard to maintaining them simply for this pleasure-giving substance. This pleasure-giving substance is not for, and nowadays they are even prepared to murder their child in the womb just in order to have that pleasure-giving substance. They are prepared to do anything. So such is the intensity of the pleasure that one gets by just rubbing the genitals together. This pleasure-giving substance is not false, however, because it originates from the transcendental body of the Lord. In other words, the pleasure-giving substance is a reality, but it has taken on an aspect of pervertedness on account of material contamination. In the material world, sex life is the cause of many distresses on account of material contact. Therefore, the sex life in the material world should not be encouraged beyond the necessity. There is a necessity for generating progeny even in the material world, but such generation of children must be carried out with full responsibility for spiritual values. Does this sound that Prabhupada is actually condoning rape? Prabhupada is saying that, he is encouraging rape? So you got to understand where Prabhupada is coming from. Why would he say all these things? How much full responsibility one has to have, in the matter of sex or any material activity. So spiritual values of life can be realized in the human form of material existence, and the human being must adopt family planning with reference to the context of spiritual values and not otherwise. The degraded form of family restriction by use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. He is saying here, and then he will say rape. He will say, okay. So where is your judgment? What nonsense is this? We have one of our pillar. Prohibitions is no illicit sex. So we condone rape. Prabhupada condones rape. What nonsense is this? He is saying that women, they cannot deny that there is a pleasure when there is a rubbing of the genitals. They cannot deny. Even in the midst of trauma, there is that pleasure. But mostly when the man actually makes all his aggressive moves towards a woman, she may sometimes express anger on the outside, but inside she's actually enjoying it. Vast majority is like that. Yes, there are some rapes which are done by men who are completely monsters, and that's also there. That's traumatic. But then you cannot deny rubbing of the genitals. That there is no pleasure in there. But of course, the monsters who do this, they do it so painfully, and it quickly turns into pain, and then murder, even everything. That is all very, very traumatic. So that overtakes all that pleasure that is there when there is this thing. But that does not mean, oh, men can rape now. That is not being said here. The degraded form of family restriction by use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. Materialists who use these devices want to fully utilize the pleasure potential of the coating on the genitals by artificial means without knowing the spiritual importance. And without knowledge of spiritual values, the less intelligent man tries to utilize only the material sense pleasure of the genitals. Yes, this is the other thing, 323.44. It is understood that the sexual appetite of woman is 9 times greater than that of a man. Actually, this is in the Chanakya Niti Shastra, where he says 8 actually, 8 times. A woman is as twice as something of a man, 4 times as shy as the man, 8 times as lustier as the man, a woman. So certainly there is, and Prahlad Maharaj, this is actually from the Niti Shastra. And then Prahlad Maharaj says this 7.9.45, Kanduyanena karayoriva dukkha dukkham Yanmahi thunadhigrahamedhi sukham hituchham Kanduyanena karayoriva dukkha dukkham Tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhajah Kanduti vanmanasijam vishaheta dhiraham. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of 2 hands to relieve an itch. So when you have an itch, rub it, you feel nice. Similarly, there is this urge of the genitals to have sex, and when there is this rubbing of the genitals, and there is this relief of the itch of the sexual urge. So Grihamedhis, so-called Grihasthas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The Kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are Dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. So from which angle does it look like Śrīla Prabhupāda is promoting rape? What nonsense is this? We are dead against that. We are dead against illicit sex. What to speak of rape? We are dead against consensual illicit sex. When people have consensual sex, when the lady wants it and the man wants it, and they have it without marriage, or even within marriage, not for procreation, even that is illicit sex. We are against even that. What to speak of rape? Now, a woman cannot come to this standards. Many women cannot even come to that standard, and they are making comments on Prabhupada. How can you decide like that? You have to understand his instructions in full context. This is nonsense. This is another thing. Studies of modern women have shown that vast majority have rape fantasies, which is true. They have actually rape fantasies. They don't have this, and they read so many these sexual novels. In fact, I heard from there is this movie called 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I have not watched the movie, but they say that it is like a sexually stimulating movie, and a woman who submits to a man who is quite authoritative in his thing, and it is one of the blockbusters, and the vast majority of the audience were women, and even the book on which that movie was based, women still buy it and read. You see, so this thing is there. It is, you cannot deny. They do have actually rape fantasies. In fact, there was one serial made also in this way, that this woman, it is actually Tamil or Malayalam or something. It was a serial or a short film or something like this. So anyway, this is a film, so I don't want to base it on a film. But that woman, the husband and wife, and then she has this fantasy of having sex on a mountain with an unknown man. Just first time met him, and I want to have this sex on a mountain she has this fantasy. What if one day that can come true or something like that? So, I mean, there are these kind of things which are existing, which are not out of this thing. But of course, you may say, "Oh, not majority of men think like that." But yeah, I mean, there are novels. It is not only based on consensual sex is as bad as rape. Sex should only be dharma viruddha kamosmi, only for begetting children within marriage. That's all. Everything else, just because the woman does not like it and the man had sex with her, now it is called rape. But if the woman likes it, okay, it's fine. It's not fine. So it's not fine. So even they're wrong. Women are wrong. So, and many times it happens because of consensual sex, and that's why it is not reported anywhere. But in those consensual sex, the man must have been aggressive in vast majority of the cases. Sometimes a woman is aggressive. So these things are there, and even apart from the actual act of sex, even the precursors to that activity, which are advances with words, with actions, with gestures, with whatever that comes slowly lead to the man and woman having sex actually physically. All those advances, if the man is aggressive a little bit, women enjoy that. That is there. But all this is a platform of dukkha dukkham. You see, the grihamedis who have no spiritual knowledge think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. Why modern women like to wear very, very short dresses and everything? They want to be, they're sexually attracting the man. So this is what they want to do. So the Kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching are not subject to the sufferings of fools and rascals. So it ultimately is a great sin. It leads to abominable destinations. Yoshit Sangha Sangam, Tamodvaram. Yoshit Sangha Sangam. Go to the darkest region. So, but these are there. Yeah? So in this way we have to understand. So I think, is that the last question? Yes. So that is the last question. Of course, I can see some questions on today's session. Honestly, it's already 10 o'clock. I can't go further than this. So maybe you can, we can address these questions in the next AMAM. But please ask there again. Save your questions. Ask there again, and we will answer in the next AMAM. I'm sorry, I could not take any new questions today. because that was the whole point. We were only answering the questions from the previous AMAM session. Alright, thank you very much. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.